Hello. Yes, we are live. We are live. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening.
Oh
And well,
yeah, it's a Friday night. It's Friday night hangout. Let's celebrate. A season of new beginnings. Let's rejoice. Thank God it's Friday. It's Friday night hangout. Let's celebrate. A season of new beginnings. Let's rejoice. Thank God it's Friday.
hey, thank God it's Friday night. Welcome, welcome. Good evening, goodness. Good evening, everyone. Nice to have you join me tonight on our Friday night hangout. And the conversation continues tonight. And so I'm your host, Joy Onyeso, on the Friday Night Hangout. And this is a beautiful community where you can have conversations on personal and business development issues, right? And so this is your safe space to connect, to learn, to unlearn, to network. This is that space. And in this August, we're having very interesting conversation. We're talking about how to grow your brand, either your personal brand or your business brand. One of the key things we all aspire is ways of growing our brand, ways of remaining relevant in business. And so this August is devoted to having that conversation. Last week, Friday, we talked about um, understanding your brand as the first step in growing your brand. We talked about what your brand is all about, how you can, what steps to take to understand your brand, understanding your unique selling proposition for your brand, that thing that differentiates you, that makes you unique. And so the conversation moves forward tonight. We're going to be looking at 5 characteristics for growing your brand. 5 characteristics that make your brand sustainable. I see you, Miracle. Welcome. Yes, goodness, how to grow your brand. Welcome, Rosemary. Thank God it's Friday. And please, my apologies if I don't call your name. I call the names that I can see in my screen, and sometimes it's limited by network. Okay, so the conversation is going to be very interesting tonight because, especially at a time like this, where there is a lot of uncertainties, where people are prioritizing how they spend their money. How then can you make your brand sustainable? So we'll be looking at some of the characteristics that make your brand a sustainable brand. It makes your brand to be relevant, even in the face of changing economic priorities, changing economic environment. Your brand will still be one that people look up to, especially the target market you are designed to serve. Now, the first place I will start from is you knowing your story. Some businesses do not know why they're in business. You don't even understand the solution you proffer. And that is why you find some people copying other people's models. They are not showing up in ways that are authentic. One of the factors that make your prospective clients to connect to you is the authenticity they can feel. There has to be that connection. So know your story. And I talked a little bit about it last week. I said, part of understanding your brand is understanding your story. That's once you can understand your brand, you would see yourself telling your brand story in ways that are unique to your brand, in ways that help people, connect to your brand. It comes out both in the color, the logo, you know, the adverts you make, the messages you put out there. It will be telling your story in a way that shows the solution you're providing to your prospective clients. Once your story is not very clear, what would happen is your messaging would not be compelling enough to draw your prospective clients. And remember that once you don't have this, it will affect the value that you put out and it will affect the income that you get in. And when this happens, it's either you come complaining, oh, my business is so bad. People are not patronizing my business despite all the money I'm pumping into ads. Your ads needs to tell a story. And that brings me to the second point, which is innovation and consistency. So your story needs to be told in a consistent manner. People watch out for consistency. And so consistency is something that also makes people feel comfortable with the brand. It's also what makes people trust the brand. And so when you're not consistent with your brand story, it becomes difficult for you to build that connection. I want you to just pause and reflect on some of the notable brands that you know of today. Some of the notable brands that you connect with. Hi, Adeze, Ozioma. Nice. I have two Adezes here, so welcome all the Adezes, and Ozibeke, welcome. Now, I want you to just pause and reflect on the notable brands you know of. Why do you buy those brands? Just think about it. I don't want to call any brand name, but I want you to just reflect. You know some of the brands you patronize. Why? I can assure you that one of the things you'll be looking at, one of the characteristics you can, point to that brand would be that the brand is consistent. It could be that they're consistent in their quality, they're consistent in their customers' relationship, they're consistent, in perhaps the color, something. There has been several factors that they're consistent in. And that gives you some kind of trust on the brand. You trust the brand. You know that this is a brand you just want to stay with. Personally, I was having a conversation with a friend and I said, I'm a very loyal brand customer. Once you're consistent in your service delivery on your products, except there's a major issue, I will find it difficult to move. And that's the same thing with a number of people. Consistency is one key thing they look at. So I want you to look at your brand, whether you're planning on starting off your brand, whether your brand is already in existence. And when I'm talking about a brand, it could be a non for profit, it could be a for profit business. But the key thing is that it's a brand, it's an entity, right? And so if you're just starting off or you're already in it, I want you to ask yourself this question. How consistent am I in the quality of value that you give? If it's in services, if it's in the products, if perhaps you're running a show like this, I can assure you that you turn up every Friday, 7 p.m. because you know I'm going to be here, because you know Friday night hangout will be here. If perhaps today I show up, tomorrow I'm not there, next tomorrow I'm not there, your interest would wane. You're like, oh, we don't even know if she's going to show up today for Friday night hangout, so we don't want to bother to go there. But you spend your time and your data to come into this program because you know that every Friday, 7 p.m., I'm going to be here live. And if there are some technical issues or whatsoever, we'll have a recorded version, right? And so that is one kind of consistency I'm referring to. So you want to grow your brand into a sustainable one, you need to make sure that your brand is consistent. Now, another thing we want to think about is innovative. A brand that is sustainable means that you have consciously and continuously you thought about adding value to your clients and your prospective clients. It's not a one-off thing. It happens in a continuum. You're consistently thinking about how to deliver value, how to make yourself relevant in your market space for a long time. And that's sustainability. You're not there to just show up and then dazzle and disappear. You're in it for the long run. So you have to consistently think about, how do I consciously deliver value? That's the sustainability we're talking about tonight. And so when there are challenges, when there is an economic meltdown, when things are not going right, like we have it right now in our climate, Nigeria, things are getting more difficult. and more difficult even for business owners. And so we look at the rising costs of foreign exchange, which, by the way, impacts on almost everything we do. And then you're asking yourself, is this business worth it? How can I thrive? Am I sure I can remain in this business in the next 2 months, 3 months, 6 months? And now this is where innovation comes into play. Challenges can really inspire you to become innovative, to think of a vision beyond the now in a sustainable manner. Now, let's look at the business environment in Nigeria. Let me give us a very quick example. Remember when there was a point in time in Nigeria when we didn't used to have these little packs, these little sachets of milk, of chocolate drinks. We didn't used to have all that. It either came in the big cans of 500 gram, 900, 1,000, and thereabouts, right? But now looking at the purchasing power of the masses. Businesses knew, hey, CEO Uju, welcome. Rosemary, welcome. I'm seeing Madam Adenike. Thank you for joining in. Welcome, welcome. Now, they studied the environment and knew that the purchasing power was dwindling. And if they want to have a mass appeal, because the food industry is an industry that, whether we like it or not, even in very challenging times, we say in pidgin English, man must work. You must really eat. So it's now depending on the quality of what you eat and the frequency of what you eat. But we must eat because it's one of the basic needs of every human being, food. And so the business industry now thought, especially in the food industry, said, how can we make ourselves more affordable and sustainable, right? At a time like this. Thank you so much, Uju. She says, thank you, Yom. This topic is so timely. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're finding it valuable. And now they thought, how can we make this affordable and also keep our business ongoing for the long term? What did they do? We suddenly saw the entrance into the market of small packs of milk. You could buy milk then for 50 naira, 70 naira. You could get a coffee drink for 70 naira, chocolate drink, 100 naira. And so when you look at it, with about 300 naira then, before this recent thing, you could get a good breakfast. You could get egg, bread, and a drink, and a hot drink, and you're good to go. Unlike when you had to put out thousands to be able to get, the drink and the milk and all of that, if it's Lipton and all that. But even Lipton started doing the small pack where you have two Lipton in one. So this is what I'm talking about, the innovation in the market. You need to look into your business. How can I get innovative with the way I, produce, or with the way I deliver my services in such a way that I remain relevant in the market space, in such a way that I can still serve my target audience. That's one way of saying sustainable. So you don't have to throw your towel in and say, you know what, I'm done. Hello, Chinanye, thank you for coming on board. So you don't have to throw in the towel and say, you know what, I'm done. This is that. No, you now need to start looking at it. Yes, there's also the economics of scale, that sometimes it is more expensive to produce smaller packs than larger pack. But mark you, when the number you're turning out is much, is also, you close that gap by turning out a larger number if you have more needs. A lot of businesses, as witnessing a decline in the sales of their products or services. Yesterday, I was talking to one of my account officers, and we're just projecting the economic climate of Nigeria and looking at what to expect between now and the end of the year, up to early next year. And we had to talk about innovation. We said a lot of businesses need to optimize, their value. They really need to optimize. You really need to optimize. This is not a time for spreading so thin, not creating a niche, showing up. You need to be very intentional in how your business operates. You need to close the gaps. So innovation becomes very critical. Even in the processes you run, even in the way you spend internally, you need to get innovative. I was having a review with my administrative manager That was last week. And we talked about it again this week. And I said, you know what? We need to look at how we spend. There are certain tasks we need to group and, cut down on the expenses, transport costs, all of those costs. On the surface, you might think it doesn't matter, but it does. When you add that the little cupboard here, little cupboard there, over a period of time, it becomes problematic. If you're a business owner, you need to follow the money. You need to follow your expenses because now you're getting innovative. So maybe your processes will change, your service delivery will change, but do not compromise value in all of this. And I have to say this, that you're doing the right thing doesn't mean that it's efficient, that is effective, sorry. That you're being efficient doesn't mean that your process is effective. Effective means impactful. So you also want to balance it. The right thing the right way. The right way will be in a way that it's effective. So you need to look at the spectrum of your business processes. You need to look at the spectrum of what you do from your internal processes to the external processes. You need to do that. If you don't have a process flow by now, my dear, you're a business owner, I would really advise that you sit down and draw up your process flow so that you can begin to see where effort goes. As business owners, especially as women business owners, we have a challenge of also quantifying our time. We have a problem of quantifying our time. So when you get products and your pricing system, when you have your pricing system, most times we look at every other thing apart from our time. How much time do you put out in producing that brand product? How much time do you expend in your service delivery? What proportion of your time is it of the day? How much do you value your time daily? If you're not doing this, you need to do that. And that's why some of us, we don't pay ourselves and we just keep dipping hand. This is not a time to keep dipping hand into your business funds. No. If you haven't been paying yourself salary, you need to pay yourself salary. And one way of paying yourself salary is to look at how much value you bring to the table, how much time you put into the business, and all of that, and you put a value to it. So that I say that again, that you're doing the right thing, meaning that you're being efficient, doesn't mean that you're being effective. So you want to balance efficiency with effectiveness at a time like this. That is one way of being sustainable. If you're not effective, if you're not impactful, the tendency of you being sustainable would start reducing. So that's very key. Now, you also want to build a brand that is timeless. We talk of a book and we say the book is timeless. What does it mean? It means that for ages to come, to the different target audience that you are serving, that book remains one that would satisfy needs, provide solution, and would inspire. So if you're thinking of rebranding, if you're thinking of becoming more innovative in your business, I want you to also think about how timeless are your process, how timeless, even your visual presentation, how timeless are they? That you don't have to keep putting so much effort. Each time you want to revamp, the cost is like this. So you need to build a brand that is timeless. And for you to build a brand that is timeless, you need to think about 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, how would my business be positioned to serve my audience? Once you start thinking futuristic, you would start thinking about things you need to put in place now that can serve you for tomorrow or the future. Let's take a look. I was having I like to bring in my personal conversations sometimes because I reflect on them and they're very helpful. Now I was having a conversation with my architect like 2 years ago, 3 years, and we're talking about a building design. And he was like, "What do you want?" And I said, "I want something that is a timeless piece." He said, "What do you really mean?" And something that you don't need to, when you have certain roofing system, because of the style of roof that you've done, you have to change it. Because of the kind of equipment you put in or the structure you put in, you have to change it with time. Otherwise, it starts looking obsolete. But even at that, in that industry, there are still designs that are timeless. Whether it is 10 years from now, 50 years from now, cannot be said to be obsolete. It is a timeless piece. So I want you to look at your business. How can you position your business to be a timeless brand? Look at the capacity that is required. Look at the way your process flow. That is the way you get things done within your system. Even if you're a solopreneur, you need to look at that. You need to look at how you show up, how you position yourself. You need to look at all of that. The kind of value you put out. Are you giving yourself opportunity to layer? And so if you have the big picture, you mustn't start all of it now, even in a timeless brand. All you can do is to set milestones. Set miles. I learned something from Bishop T.D. Jakes some years back. And he said that he always, you know, he always projects a decade ahead. And as of that time, he was saying that I was only doing 3 to 5 year projections. And when I said take it ahead, wow, how can you do 10 years projection? Wow, that's a lot. Won't what I'm doing be obsolete or whatever? No. You just need to know the system to put in place. You just need to know the milestones you need to put in place. And this is where M&E becomes very important. Now, when I say M&E, don't say, oh, that's too technical. No, very simple thing, just like you do in the home. You know when you restock your house, don't you? By the time you buy your pack of matches, your bag of rice, your half bag of beans, your 2 painters of crayfish, and all that, you know when you have certain periods. It's okay. Over time I've noticed that I use a bag of rice for 2 months, for 3 months. And so when it's 1.5 months into your usage period, you want to start saving to buy another one, right? That's the same thing in M&E in your business. You need to have certain indicators that enable you to collect data. When we talk of data, I don't think about it in such a technical terms that you're scared of it. The little things you do, how much you spend, when you buy, how many customers come in, which ones are returning customers, which of your products or services they like, when do you want to bring out a new product, why and what niche. These are things you need to put together. If you don't do that over time, you cannot make informed decisions because the decision will be based on nothing. There has to be a benchmark for you to make growth decisions, projection decisions. You can start from just assumptions, but then you need to move from assumptions to data-backed decisions. M&E stands for monitoring and evaluation. You do monitoring at periods. So it's an ongoing thing. You do monitoring at periods. But evaluation has timelines. Either you do it at midway into your project timeline or at the end of your project timeline. So the data you collect from your ongoing monitoring feeds into the evaluation that you do. I hope that makes sense to you. Okay. And so it's very important that you build your business such a way that you can collect data. Most of us do not collect data. So at a time like this, you want to build a sustainable brand, you need to collect data. You need to collect data. Start looking at how much of which brand products do you produce, do you sell, how much of them do you, and at what periods do you sell them. This will give information as to how to move or navigate in such a time we find ourselves in. And you build a timeless brand. The challenges we find now should not deter you at all. Rather, it should inspire you to become innovative. It should inspire you to look for new ways of doing things. Now, the other part I want to talk about is connected. If you understand that the business environment you're working in is a complex environment where there are a lot of variables that are connected, if you understand the principle or the concept of connected, you would know that your business does not operate in isolation. What do I mean by this? Let's give a very practical example. Some people may say, what's my business with dollars? The price of dollars. I don't deal in import or export. I just make clothes and sell clothes. Or I just produce pap. No, I produce pap and I sell pap. So I don't have any business with foreign exchange. Hello? You are living and working and operating in a complex business environment where everything is related. From the choice of your president to the choice of your governor, your state House of Assembly representative, your House of Representative, all of these things are connected because they make policies, they enact laws that impact on your business environment. So that's why I tell the market women, when you tell me what's my business, I'm not the business environment is connected to the political environment, to all the caregiving environment, all of them are connected. And so you need to understand what is happening in all of these areas. You can't be an ostrich and just put your head down. You need to look up and look at how everything is going on and how it's impacting your business. And so you can make projections. You can start looking at, oh, this, when you're listening to the news, you're attentive. When they said, oh, we're increasing by 25 points the lending rate, I'm not going to take any loan tomorrow. But I took an interest because there are some businesses who will take that loan and who are operating in my business environment, and I engage with them either by buying their products or services. And so by the virtue of them being able to service their loans, they need to increase their cost of sale, right? Their selling price, and that will impact on my own business. So everything is connected. You need to be able to connect the dots. So you want your business to be sustainable, you need to have that power of doing what I call an environmental scanning, and look at your ecosystem and all of how all of that impacts on your business periodically. Periodically. And that's why as a business, you always need to do it in periods, the SWOT analysis. Look at the strength you have as a business, the weaknesses of your business, the opportunities internally, and the threats externally to your business. If you don't do all of this in periods, it becomes difficult for you to be sustainable. One day you wake up and you're swept away like Kodak or like BlackBerry. And that is not what we want. And for us who are women business owners, we want to remain sustainable. I don't want us to run audio businesses. I don't want us to run businesses that are struggling to survive. We're talking about building a brand that is sustainable in the long run. Before you make that decision of paying 4 million naira for a shop, you will ask yourself, how much do I have to put in to stock that shop? How much sales do I expect to get? You will need to see how all of these are connected. This is not a time for just doing things and showing up anyhow. No. For every sustainable brand, there is a conscious effort to serve value and to expend wisely, very wisely. You need to prioritize even your growth requirements. You need to prioritize. Another thing you also need to do is you also need to know that not every decision you make should be based on financial returns. What do I mean? Now sometimes we just wake up and we'd say, okay, things are so expensive in the market, everything is going on increase. What I need to do right now is to just I need to increase the cost of my products or services so that I can make more returns. Now, have you sat back to think about it? What other innovative ways can I manage the inconsistency in the business environment? Remember the story I told you about the sachet packs of milk, chocolate drink, coffee drink? We didn't used to have that before. 10 years ago, 11 years ago, we didn't used to have that. But all of a sudden, even the big biscuits, we now have small packs of 50 naira, small packs of 100 naira biscuits, which we didn't used to have before. It was a big biscuit. You saw those big brands. Now, even the big brands are having smaller pack. Even the drinks, water, soft drink, you now see them having economic pack and the big pack. There's a reason. So all your decisions should not necessarily be based on financial returns alone. Make sure that at the core of your decision is the target audience, the people that you're serving. The value that you bring to them is also equally important. When you focus your business on just your financial returns, making decisions just based on how much comes into your pocket, then the tendency of you building a sustainable brand would diminish by the day. Your business also has to be people-centered. It has to be a customer centered. That way, you build loyalty among your brand customers. And that's what we want to do. Because really, where the money comes from is when you have lots of returning customers. When you have lots of that's why you see big brands spend a lot of money on loyal brands, customers. Sometimes I get free tickets, economy tickets to travel because of how much I've patronized. So when I get that offer, I'll keep it in the bank. And then I can now use it some other time when I feel, I want to travel, I have this free thing. Why won't I go to that brand again? Sometimes if you buy an economy class ticket, they upgrade it to business class. Wow. Sometimes you get extra luggages for traveling a particular brand. Wow. Sometimes you buy something from a customer and the person gives you extra Jara. Wow. You want to keep going there. So don't just base your business decision on just your financial return. Look at ways of providing value. Look at way of also serving your customers in such a way that they feel happy. You provide a solution to their pain. And especially at this time, it becomes very important for business. If you want to thrive, you need to become innovative. It's not just all about the money, right? It's not just all about the money. And so tonight I've shared with you um, 5 key things you must do to build a sustainable brand. I first talked about innovation and consistency. I talked about knowing your story. I talked about building a timeless brand. And I also talked about understanding the concept of connected, you knowing that you're living and operating in a complex system, that everything is just connected. I also talked about the importance of knowing that not all your decisions should be based on financial returns. You also need to look at the value and the people, the community that you serve, right? These are very key and they are very, very integral to the growth and sustainability of your brand. I do hope that you got a lot of nuggets. Please put down in the chat box. I want to see what's the value for you for tonight's conversation. Put it in the chat box. Miracle says consistency helps you to earn the trust of your customers. Yep. Divine choices, opportunities internally and trust externally. Yes. Madam Adenike says even bleach now sell in sachets of 59. Wow. Can you just see that? These are all strategies, innovative ways of remaining in business and ensuring that you're in business for the long term. You need to constantly study the market, study your data, and make far reaching decisions that are not just based on your financial returns and not just based on today. In summary, every business that is sustainable or would be sustainable doesn't just look at today. It looks at the future and position itself to remain relevant in the business environment for the future. So I ask you tonight, what commitment are you making to your business? How are you going to ensure that you're building a sustainable business brand? You don't want to pour in all this effort, all the money, and then walk away 1 year, 2 years down the line. No, you don't want to do that. If you're in business, there's something that drove you to go into that business. There must be a compelling why you're in business beyond the money. And that's what you want to service to ensure that you remain relevant in the long run. Okay, I thank you for yeah. Musima says SWOT analysis. Olivia says innovation will help you remain in business. Musima says I got value, ma'am. Thank you so much. Device says I got value. Thank you. Chinenye says I like that part of M and E mantra revelation. Beautiful, awesome. I'm also going to put out a value for you tonight before we wrap up. Finally, we have a summer sale coming up from August 28th to the 5th of September, where I'm putting out some books at 50% discount price. So you get the Power Woman book, you get the Dare to Dream, you get the Molding of the Master Vessels, you even get the Friday Night Hangout compilation stories for 50% discount. And in addition, you're also going to get the 30 Days Abundance Challenge, all a discounted 50% of the price. Wow. All that I'm saying tonight, you can find them in the Power Woman book. You can also find some of it in the Dare to Dream book. So books are a timeless source of resources that you want to have. As a business owner, even as an individual, you want to invest in books that can build your knowledge. You want to invest in books that you can always refer to. So even if you've gotten the book before, this is a summer break, you have kids at home. One of the beauty of my books is that it is very generation sensitive. Yeah, is intergenerational sensitive. So the languages are simple. It is Christocentric, meaning that I refer a lot to principles found in the Bible, in the scriptures. So even if you're not a Christian, though, it still finds wide insights for you that you can apply to your everyday life. So get ready for it. 50% discount. A number of times, oh, I want the 30 days abundance challenge, but I don't have the complete money. Now you have an option to buy it at 50% discount. So get ready. August 28th to September 5th, you're getting all of this 50% off the price. That's one way I'm telling you happy summer holidays and to enjoy your holidays. Thank you all so much. I'm glad that you got value. I'm really glad that you got value. Thank you. As your husband says, use this opportunity to get the 30 days abundance challenge. You'll be glad you did. Thank you so much. Okay, the conversation still continues next week. We will continue the conversation on how to grow your brand. So we are coming up next week with another sizzling, exciting topic that can help you to grow your brand. And so next week we're going to be talking about, setting your goals. Now, how do you set goals for your brand? Goals, how do you set goals for your brand? You can't have a brand and you're not setting the goals for your brand. So there has to be goals that you set for your brand, and we're going to talk about that. What are the processes of setting goals? Do you just wake up and say, okay, I want to earn 10 million naira in 4 weeks? How do you go about goal setting? Join us next week, Friday. We're going to be talking about how to set goals for your brand. And I'm sure you're going to find this very exciting, even if you're not an entrepreneur, even as a personal brand, even as an individual, even in your homes, this you find it very interesting. So we're going to be dealing next week with how to set goals. So setting your goals. This is an area where I know a lot of us struggle with. Beginning of the year, we set up all kinds of things and we were not able to meet up with them. So I invite you to make it a date with me next week, Friday, and we'll be talking about how to set goals. Okay. As always, I love and celebrate you. I thank you, my team, for making this happen despite the network challenges. Thank you so much. And I hope you got so much values. I appreciate you all. And I look forward to seeing you next week, Friday. From me to you, I love you, honor, and celebrate you always. Enjoy your weekend and make it a date with me next week, Friday. Same time, same channel. Bye for now. Love you so much.